Evolution of Tetrapods, Final Project Biology 30 by Jaylynn Stonechild. Go way back in time, 400 or so million years ago. Way back in the prehistoric mists of geological time, a brave fish crawls laboriously out of the water and onto dry land. The first wave of a vertebrate invasion that leads directly to dinosaurs, mammals, and human beings. That said, these prehistoric fish crawled out of the water at various times, making it nearly impossible to identify the direct ancestor of modern vertebrates. The evolution of tetrapods began about 400 million years ago in the Devonian period. This period was the fourth period of Paleozoic era. It is often known as the Age of Fishes. Although significant other events happened in the evolution of plants, the first insects, and other animals. Though hard to imagine, long ago, creatures with fins left the water and crawled up onto land. That said, this transition was not as simple as a fish crawling up onto land and existing. The details are often only vaguely understood and often originate in the ideas about the subject that were put forward in the early 20th century, based on very little in hard facts. In recent years, especially the last 5 or 10, information about the ideas, the fish-tetrapod transition, have expanded and changed enormously. What is a tetrapod? The word tetrapod comes from the Greek word tetrapoda, which means 4 feet. Tetrapods are vertebrate land animals. The basic tetrapod plan is 4 legs and feet. This kind of locomotion is quadrupedal. Amphibians, reptiles, dinosaurs, birds, and mammals are all tetrapods. Even though snakes do not have limbs, they are tetrapods because they evolved from animals with 4 limbs. Today, courtesy of enriched fossil record, a better understanding of tetrapod evolution is available. In fact, the sequence of acquisitions of tetrapod-like characters, the sorts of environments in which they lived in, and the timing of the events leading to the origin of tetrapods have all become approachable using fossil record. The earliest tetrapods evolved from sacropterygi, or lobed-finned fish. These early lobed fins were fast swimmers and had heterocircular tails, meaning that the tail fin was asymmetrical and larger on the dorsal side. One of the most important characteristics of lobe-finned fish is the lobe in their fins. Unlike other fish, sacropterygian fish have a central appendage in their fins containing many bones and muscles. The fins are very flexible and potentially useful for supporting the body on land, as in the lungfish and tetrapods. Additionally, the sacropterygi is known for having enamel on the teeth. Experts about the environmental pressures at the time, though likely severe, as it prompted lobed-finned fish to evolve into walking, breathing tetrapods. One theory is that the shallow lakes and rivers these fish lived in were subject to drought, favoring species that could survive, at least for a while, in these dry conditions. Another theory has it as the earliest tetrapods were literally chased out of the water by bigger fish. Dry land harbored an abundance of insects and plants and foods and marked an absence of dangerous predator. Any lobed-finned fish that blundered onto land would have found itself in, by Devonian terms at least, a vertebrable paradise. Tetrapods evolved numerous times, in different places. The most important of these is Tetrapods, which seems to have been perched midway between tetrapod-like lobed-finned fishes and later true tetrapods. Tiktaalik was blessed with the primitive equivalent of wrists, which may have helped it to prop itself up onto its stubby front fins along the edges of shallow lakes, as well as a true neck, providing it with much needed flexibility and mobility during its quick jaunts onto dry land. Because of its startling mix of tetrapod and fish characteristics, Tiktaalik is often referred to as a fishapod, although this name is also sometimes applied to an advanced lobed fin fish like Euaspinoid and Pateranthesis. Another important fish was Ichthyostega, which lived about 5 million years ago after Tiktaalik and achieved similarly respectable sizes, about 5 feet long and 50 pounds. A far cry from the tiny, flopping, stubby-legged fish most people picture crawling out of the prehistoric sea. In summary, here are the key characteristics of tetrapods. They have 4 limbs, or descended from ancestors with 4 limbs. Various adaptations of the skeleton and muscles that enable proper support and movement on land. There are adaptations to the cranial bones that allow the head to remain stable while the animal moves. A layer of dead cells that reduces evaporation and water loss across the surface of the body. Well-developed muscular tongue. The parathyroid gland that in part controls calcium levels in the blood. A gland that lubricates the eyes. An olfactory gland that enables the detection of pheromones and plays a role in taste and smell. And the absence of internal gills. There are approximately 3,000 species of tetrapods. They are classified within the following taxonomic hierarchy: animals, chaudates, vertebrates, and tetrapods. Tetrapods are divided into the following taxonomic groups: amphibians and amniotes. Today, the term tetrapod includes all those animals that have legs, as well as those whose ancestors had them, but which have since abandoned or modified them, such as whales and bats, snakes, birds, and frogs. They all share a common ancestor that had legs and which lived sometime between the late part of the Devonian and the early part of the Carboniferous era. While most species today are terrestrial, little evidence supports the idea that any of the earliest tetrapods could move about on land, as their limbs could not have held their midsections off the ground, and the known trackways do not indicate they dragged their bellies around. Finally, the change of tetrapods went through a body for breathing and navigating in water to a body enabling the animal to move on land is one of the most profound evolution changes. Thank you.